In the biblical account, Saul was anointed as the first king of the Hebrews through the prophet Samuel to unite the 12 tribes and deliver Israel from external threats, such as Nahash of Ammon, who sought to oppress the people of Jabesh-Gilead. He then immediately initiated a war against the Philistines to defend Israel's sovereignty. The book of 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 4 describes,
Saul has attacked the Philistine outpost, and now Israel has become obnoxious to the Philistines, and the people were summoned to join Saul at Gilgal.
There are parallels in the Amarna Letters, where the rulers, not only from Philistine cities like Gath and Ashkelon, but also from the cities of Jerusalem, Shechem, Megiddo, and other regions, complain about the actions of a certain Habiru revolt happening in their jurisdictions. Amarna Letter 244, authored by the Egyptian vassal Biridiya of Megiddo, provides a significant connection to the rise of Saul as the leader of the Hebrews. This letter marks the first explicit accusation against Labaya, identified in this study as King Saul, portraying him as the leader of the Habiru rebels. The letter states,
May the king, O Pharaoh, give a garrison of 100 men to guard his city, or else Labaya may seize it. Known that Labaya has no other intent, he simply seeks the seizure of Megiddo.
In the biblical account, such a large-scale war starts with the son of Saul, Jonathan, attacking the Philistines without his father's consent. As described in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 1, that reads,
One day, Jonathan, son of Saul, said to his young armor-bearer, Come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side. But he did not tell his father.
This event led to the first battle between Hebrew forces and the Philistine army, known as the Battle of Michmash. It is important to highlight that, according to the Bible, before this battle, Saul issued a strict command, ordering his men to refrain from eating until the day's conflict was over. Despite the decree, his son, Jonathan, inadvertently broke the command by eating honey shortly after the battle concluded. Supposedly, the act of defiance from his son caused God to curse the entire army. And Saul harshly condemns his own son to death in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 14, verses 44 to 46. The text reports,
So Jonathan asked him, I tasted a little honey with the end of my staff, and now I must die? Saul responded, May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you do not die, Jonathan.
It seems harsh for a father to be willing to execute his own son for such a flimsy command. But a similar situation does happen in the Amarna Letter number 254, which describes Labaya handing over one of his sons to the authorities, namely, to the commissioner known as Addaya, to be executed. During this time, the Habiru leader was still presenting himself as a loyal Egyptian vassal, so the command against his son was a deflection of the blame for the attack to avoid Egyptian retaliation. This letter, in Labaya's own words, underscores the immense difficulty of this decision by comparing it to the gravity of taking his own life.
I did not know that my son was consorting with the Habiru. I herewith hand him over to Addaya. Moreover, O Pharaoh, know that, if the king wrote to me, Put a bronze dagger into your heart and die, how could I not do it?
The situation is just too similar, since Jonathan also attacked the Philistine outpost like the son of Labaya attacked another vassal of Egypt, without his father's consent. It can be argued from a more poetic perspective that eating the honey before the proper time is a metaphor about acting hastily in the desire to anticipate a reward. In this case, Jonathan attacked the Philistines before the appropriate time, just like the son of Labaya also did. Both, the son of the Habiru leader and the son of the Hebrew leader, were being condemned not for a flimsy command, but for acting impulsively and bringing a military response against his father before he was ready for battle, and the war indeed escalated. In the end, according to the biblical account, the soldiers, who had witnessed Jonathan's bravery and leadership in the victory over the Philistines, refused to let him be executed over a mere nominal oath. Finally, Saul disavowed his oath, sparing his son and intensifying his attack on the Philistines. This moment highlights how the will of the people and personal bonds of leadership could override even solemn vows made under a high authority. Similarly, Labaya gradually embraced his rebellious nature, expanding his influence by capitalizing on local dissatisfaction with Egyptian rule. Though nominally loyal to Pharaoh, he defied direct commands, ignored Egyptian commissioners, and seized control over neighboring city-states. His rise to power was fueled by his ability to rally discontented local rulers and mercenaries, including the group known as the Habiru, forming a coalition of insurgents. What began as minor uprisings and territorial encroachments escalated into full-scale rebellion as Labaya seized strategic cities and challenged loyalist rulers. As Saul kept consolidating his kingship in accordance to the parallels with the victories of Habiru leader Labaya, the next chapter will explore the emergence of the biblical figure of David in the Amarna Letters, from his identification to a certain military leader known as Tagi of Gintikirmil, shedding light on his role as a pivotal figure in the late Bronze Age Levant.